Hey. Welcome, everyone, to episode 2 of OMI is my homie. Before I bring on my co-hosts and before I introduce our special guest for today, I want to put out the disclaimer, as always, that nothing we discuss here should be considered financial advice. This is us just talking about things that we're passionate about, things that we've invested in, and our thoughts on this. And I always think that that's very important to put out there right at the beginning, so that no one has any illusions that we're telling you to do anything. This is, again, just us discussing these things. So to start out, I'm really excited for today's show. We have a lot to discuss today. We're going to talk about the SR Ecomi logo. I know that it's kind of been a polarizing NFT lately because the price has gone up so much. I've seen a lot of people posting about, is it overhyped? What's this about? What's going on? So we're going to get into the details of that and everything that's being built by the community around this logo. I'm going to talk about season 2 OMI reward speculation. What's that like? We're also going to be talking about the OMI liquidity pool that some blockchain sleuths identified on Base Chain, and what that could mean. We're also going to talk about the terrible engagement farming failure by none other than Paul Barron himself. It was awful. I'm so excited to talk about that too. And then the controversy surrounding the new comic website and people discussing about liquidity and it being pulled out of the Veve app to buy these comics, and only technical analysis and so much more. So without further ado, I would love to bring on my co-hosts, Crypto Rain and the real Randy Chavez. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Good. What's up, Doc?
Not much. You doing okay, Randy?
Doing all right. Hanging out.
I like the leather jacket. That look is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The logo hat.
Yeah. It was a good time. I actually didn't even buy this. One of the whales just gifted it to me. I was just cold one day and he was not, and I had it on. He's like, that looks so good on you. It's like, oh, thank you. He's like, I need to give it to you. I was like, oh, you don't need it. He's like, no, I need to give it to you. I was like, oh, well, all right. So it was a fun gift.
Nice.
I need to get some better whale friends. You know what I mean? What's going on here? Rain, when's my leather jacket?
You messed up. Keep it out. You're hanging with the right crowd. You'll just give it a little bit.
I love it. Well, guys, I can't tell you how excited I am to bring on our guest. What do you guys think?
Yes. What an amazing guest. And he's been such a staple in the family. He comes with such an amazing background, too. I think some people don't realize what he's done in his background. And having someone like him in the community is amazing. The fact that Veve can attract people like him, it's a big deal.
And he's not just he's in it where he'll buy something every now and then. He goes in hard, partially because he really does like what he's buying, but also because he knows where this is going. He's been around long enough to smell which way the wind is blowing. Attach himself early, makes himself important, and then obviously being a part of this multi-billion-dollar company is just going to do nothing but good things in the future.
Yeah. So I want to go ahead, Rain. Were you going to say something?
Agreed.
Oh, agreed. Yeah. So look, without further ado, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an introduction, right? So as Rain is talking about him and Randy, you probably know, right? Who this is, obviously through tweets. But if you haven't, and if you guys have never met or heard of Mr. MC1, let me give you guys a little bit of a background on who Mr. MC1 is, right? He's a private equity investor in the data and information services field. He's done venture capital investments in tech and deep tech. He is a former CEO and president of 2 different fintechs. He's been the general manager at a very, very large e-commerce company. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of it. And also a VP of a large payment network and a VP at a bank. So when Rain talks about this experience and who Veve attracts, this individual is top notch, right? Area of expertise, fintech, payments, e-commerce, data, info. So all of that, and so without further ado, let us bring on the legend, the one and only Mr. MC1.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Man, that intro was a bit much, man. I'm just
you stop
Mr.
it
MC1,
right
man. I'm the guy who buys collectibles,
Well, look, so
thank you. Thank you for the intro.
I think it's important, MC1, to to lay out that foundation, because look, there's a lot of talking heads on Twitter, me included, right? And like, I mean, I talk about my background, right? Investing in crypto and stocks, and background in financial analysis and understanding the regulatory space. But like, it's very important when we have guests on for people to understand where they're coming from and the insights. Like, so when you're talking about things, right? It's like this wealth and depth of experience that you have, like from somewhere, and it means more, right? So I know that you're just trying to be modest, but I think it's important for people to understand your background. So, and we're lucky to have you on the show.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. 3 guys who I admire a lot. Very lucky to call you guys friends, and honored to be on the channel as well, guys.
Awesome.
I'm excited for this journey that we all get to go on together with what David and Dan have put together, right? So not just the token, but also the collectibles. And, you know, I have an inner nerd. I think all of us have like an inner nerd if we're here that like loves collecting stuff. And I do. And there, you know, I love Batman stuff. I love Spider-Man stuff. I love a lot of this cool stuff. And so it's fun because the crypto investor side of me gets to actually rediscover that kid side of me that's gone away.
Absolutely.
100%. So our first topic of the day or of the night, and this is why I think it was so important that we had you on, Mr. MC1, is wanted to talk about the secret rare ecomi logo, right? So a little bit of background for people who may not know. I'm sure most of the OMI homies do know, but if you held OMI on the Veve app, if you held 10 million OMI on the Veve app, you were airdropped at the end of season 1, which is each season is a quarter, 3 months, right? If you held it that whole time, you got airdropped 3 different ecomi collectibles, with the rarest one, the secret rare, being this ecomi silver and red logo. And what started to happen is Mr. MC1 here kind of gathered this community and started to create like this group of ecomi SR logo holders. But I'd love, Sanjay, for you to kind of tell us what you've been building, you know, and look, Randy and I have been helping, but let's give credit where credit is due. You have been the workhorse behind all of this, creating all of it, and we've been here trying to help, you know. But I'd love for you to tell people why people are looking at this and they're like, this SR ecomi, the price has been pumping and what's going on and why people have been buying it up. And I think it's important for people to understand what's being built around it.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So a couple of things. The first point that I really wanted to make is that, look, Web3 is really about community, whether it's NFTs, whether it's crypto, whether it's anything, whether it's, you know, in the case of OMI is a utility token. It's tied deeply to Veve, right? You can say what you want to, but the ultimate driver of value for OMI is on Veve. Now, not taken away from exchanges, big exchanges, all that other good stuff. You know, for me personally, I've always been a very big believer that the core fundamentals of OMI are tied deeply to Veve. And you guys, I think I've had a very open chat with you guys in a long time. You know, I got into OMI when I got into Veve, just a little after I got into Veve. But I was not a big believer, you know. I mean, to me, it was sort of like it's a high-risk investment, all of that good stuff. And, you know, I bought about 4.5 million OMI. That's all I had. And I bought it in 3 tranches. So even though I was pumping in like tens of thousands of dollars into the app, you know, some of them just to buy one collectible for, you know, 10 grand and stuff. But I wasn't buying OMI that much. I had about 4.5 million. I wanted to see the traction. When that OUP article came out, that was like a first sign for me, go in. So I went and I picked up the rest. I put 10 million in the app within, I think, like less than an hour of that article coming out. 10 million was in. Then I sat tight. I'm like, okay, you know what? I want to see more. Then I started hearing some chatter about, you know, hey, there's this other thing coming and whatever. So I bought another 4.5 million, which is stuck on BitForex. Because I was thinking, okay, this is my little play money now. There's going to be some action. And, you know, that was not a very smart move. And I just bought it. I think it was sitting there for about 24 hours. And I was thinking, I chatted with Tony. Tony said, oh, you know, I haven't hit 10 million on the app as yet. I'm going to move my money in there. I was thinking, yeah, you know, maybe I'll play around a little bit. But anyway, that stuck. So basically, I'm down to like 10, little over 10 million OMI. So I don't have that much OMI. But look, to tie it to the ecomi SR logo club, when this drop happened, when that ecomi logo dropped, to me, it was very, very significant. And a couple of things that were significant for me, and you guys are co-founders of this group with me, and we've chatted about this offline as well. There were a couple of very interesting things. So first of all, the people kept the OMI. A lot of people bought OMI, but these are people who kept the OMI despite all the problems, right? Like the company is not without blame, right? A lot of things were delayed, whether it's legal reasons or whether it's some other reason or whatever. Ecomi's, it's like a 3.5-year, 4-year late project, right? It's late in everything. So, but these are people who kept it, right? Number one. Number two, they put it in the app. They didn't just keep it on somewhere else in some wallet and this time. They trusted the company with it, right? Then they believed in the OUP and the MCB points. And remember, we knew what points we're getting, but we didn't have any idea of what we're going to get for it. Nobody knew you're getting a logo. And my understanding is that the company did not tell us what we were going to get for it, because otherwise people just game it. They released it in that manner. So only the people who are real hardcore guys, believers who kept it, this, that, and the other got it. So no matter which ecomi logo you had, you have demonstrated a tremendous amount of commitment, number one. All of them, right? All the logos, all the ecomi logos. Then if you think about it, the guys who put 10 million, they've 10 million OMI, they believed enough to put all 10 million in there. That's a big deal. That is a big deal, whether whatever you say or not. Then, all the rug pulls, man, so many rug pulls. I think for every 10 million OMI in the app, there's got to be at least 5 or 10 that's gotten rugged somewhere. So that is also, people have lost money along the way, rug pulls, bought it high and done all that. There's a trait, there's a human trait there. Perseverance, that perseverance, that belief these people have in OMI and also in Veve. That's a very special group of people. So to me, it just felt like the SR group. I mean, obviously, it'd be great to have all the different groups and this, that, and the other. I'm just one human being, man. Like, I got to start somewhere. So I said, okay, let me start with the SR group. And, I just really felt connected to those characteristics of those people. To me, that was the ingredients. When you think about any community, right? It's the ingredients, the people, and the people have characteristics. So those characteristics to me, perseverance, belief, all of those things, positivity, all those kind of things are very interesting kind of traits. Now, obviously, you'll say, well, some people sold it. Well, $500 is a lot of money, and different people have different needs. So whoever sold that SR logo, I'm very happy for you. You got money for it. You got what you wanted for it, basically, right? And you got it right away. And you still get to keep your 10 million OMI too. And you'll probably get something else, or you kind of get to do stuff with it later. But let me pause there, man. Like that for me was that motivator. That was a driving force of building this group.
That's I love that thought process, Sanjay. And look, as I've looked at a lot of kind of other NFT communities, so one of the things and one of the stories I tell, right, is back in 2021, I was on the mint page of either minting Bored Ape Yacht Club or this project called Appymon Eggs. Now, look, there's a whole lot of reasons why. Like, I ended up choosing Appymon Eggs. I mean, Dingaling had bought like 500 of them. Who's an NFT whale? There's a lot, and so. Look, I missed out on Bored Ape, but I continued to follow. And one of the things I noticed very early on was the community that kind of started to get together and offer utility within it. And it was crazy. There was all these high-level professionals that are like, hey, let me offer services at a discount. Or and then some people were artists and they were graffitiing like their Bored Apes on buildings and posting that. People had paid for a billboard of the Bored Ape, all of this stuff started to happen. And I reached out to Rain and I said, look, this is a little bit out of my risk profile right now for like where these have gotten to price wise, which wasn't a lot, but just NFTs were still so new that I'm like, this is out of, again, my risk appetite. But I know that Rain, like this is within Rain's, and I was like, Rain, you got to buy one of these Bored Apes, like this community that they're building. And so I look back on that, and now I look at what's being built here, right? And now I'm not comparing the ecomi logo to price wise to what Bored Apes did or anything like that. But what I'm talking about is a community that you identified that are hardened individuals. Okay. Anyone who is around right now who has held OMI on the app that long, through all of the price swings, through all that, like they are hardened and they are dedicated to this, right? They're true believers. And like you said, all those characteristics. And what we're starting to see is people willing to kind of lift up everyone who's in the group in a lot of different ways, right? There's some different channels in this Telegram group. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I love that insight. But I'd love to get your thoughts, Randy, and then Crypto Rain after that, just on kind of what Sanjay's talked about so far.
Yeah, I think it's just the beginning. I think David actually posted that in a tweet the other day, saying just the beginning. It might have been in a meme, I'm not sure, but like you said, there are people there from I think 12 different countries and all the different cities across the U.S. I don't see that often. I don't see that type of camaraderie that often. I mean, obviously, you see that in the original gold logo. You see that in the community at large. But typically, I was talking with a buddy of mine today about certain different communities. All right, well, how many people are there making content? How many people are there, trying to bring their friends in, trying to bring other people in? And also, how many people can convince someone, even if they said, hey, you didn't listen to me on OMI, so you didn't get this. But now I think you should at least buy this, buy this NFT that you could have gotten for free. You didn't. You missed that. But there are other people that have convinced their friends and other people to go and spend not an insignificant amount of money. Between 15 and 1700, 18 give or take. And again, this is with only the utility of the community. Officially, it has no utility with Veve or ecomi yet. If I know David, though, it's probably going to come at some point in some type of form. But yeah, that's it.
What's fun for me about the group is there's a lot of people that really don't interact much on the YouTube channels and comments. We really don't hear from them all that much. And then, like everyone, as they kind of joined, Sanjay had asked them to share their story. And reading through their stories, there's a lot of really smart people who maybe you don't hear from all the time because they really haven't built a Twitter profile or they don't have a YouTube channel, but that doesn't mean they're not really smart. In fact, some of them have amazing backgrounds. And it's fun. It's kind of like this silent majority you didn't really know was there, because sometimes the loudest negative people and the loudest positive people get all the traction. But it's been fun to see all these people that just quietly had 10 million or more OMI on the app and had Veve and just, you don't ever really see or hear from them much, but they're there. And that was fun for me to see all these stories and all these names I hadn't seen before and hearing them. And then some of the people in the comments here, right, being in that group, that's been a lot of fun to have the interaction and read their stories. So it's been a cool group. And a lot of people are just, I was thinking about ecomi, right? And like why some people have gotten so vitriolic. And some of it just has to do with patience. Like, essentially bear markets are hard. And especially in the early bull market, sometimes other things take off and then some projects don't. And so then that really irks the frustration of those that have been patient for a long time. And they just lose faith. And it's like, I was blessed that I came from real estate investment, which has way longer cycles than a 4-year crypto cycle. So for me, 4 years isn't very long at all. And I'm like, oh, it's no big deal. Like people are like, oh my gosh, it hasn't gone up yet. And I'm like, wait, 6 or 9 months. Like, I don't know exactly when this narrative will hit, but probably it's going to hit. And ecomi will go crazy. And when it does, then people that come into this community, it'll be greatly augmented, right? So this is like, I think at some time this digital narrative really, or digital collectibles narrative hits, and it hits so strong because something simple that people can understand when they're thinking, oh, crypto, it's confusing. What's a generation 1 blockchain and generation 2 and layer 1, layer 2? I don't get all that. Oh, Batman, Spider-Man. Okay. I can understand that. Oh, there's a token. Where do I buy that token? Oh, I can. Okay, cool. Let me buy it. And that's when I think OMI goes crazy. And a lot of people have lost faith. That's cool. I see that every bear market. It happened last bear market. It happened this bear market. It'll happen the next bear market too. That's cool. The patient, though, that's where all the rewards go to.
Yeah, excellent insights. I wanted to. I thought that this comment was funny from the Sketch Lab. He says, "If I do get into the SR ecomi logo, he's like, I'd be the first to say, meh, I'm not too smart. I just draw cartoons, man." But look, like we see a lot of smart individuals, like just well spoken, right? And like there's a range of careers that people have, and that's what I love. We got photographers, like professionals like Sanjay here that like just have so much business experience. We got like massive intelligent people in the science fields, and then we would have artists. Like it's this awesome range of talent, right? And like Rain said, just listening to people's stories, it blew me away, right? And then they share some of their collectibles, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like who are you? I've never heard of you before, and you got how many collectibles, how many comics? Like it's awesome to see kind of this very silent group that again are very hardened, and they're just not paying attention to the noise. They're collecting what they love. They're not worried about the price, of like, oh, my vault's gone down. They're collecting what they love, and it's a very long-term thing for them. They're long-term believers in it. So before we get off this topic, though, Sanjay, I'd love for you to kind of outline what's some of the utility that the community is building out with this logo holder. Like, why are people so excited to be a part of this?
A couple of things. First of all, before I started the group, I reached out to David and I said, "Hey, David, this logo has just dropped. I would like to start a group for it. I'm thinking about it, but I want to make sure I have a little bit of support from you." And he said, "F yeah." So, there's no confirmed utility. There's none of that stuff, right?
Right.
But I know that I have David's support with what we're doing here, number one. So then when you think about it, right, when I formed the group, the couple of things that came to mind was first is just get to know each other. So I asked everybody to share their stories, and those stories, Anna Rain talked about them, so incredible from all over the world. One other common trait that everybody in that group has is, or most of them have, is they have bought L1, OMI, bridged it, moved it to L2, and they've bridged it into the app, So they've gone through that process where they put something in the tunnel and waited for 20 minutes to come out on the other side. So, just that, if that becomes like a checkbox, that's pretty big, right? So very technical group. So for me, just to get to know this group of people that's tech savvy, crypto savvy, or, just in general, more technical in nature, was very good in itself. And to bring this group together, very important. Number two, I've opened up a couple of different themes there. The first theme is community utility. So like you guys see this Veve logo hat signed by Dave Dan and with the personalized mint number and stuff like that, right? So, and Randy's as well. So we're going to do that for the entire group, whoever's interested. Oh, there you go. Look at that. That's amazing as well. So we're going to do a ecomi logo hat. I got approval from the team. I got the logo from the team. I have a vendor working on it. Seems like we're most likely going to do a dark gray hat. One's a curved brim, one's a flat brim. Fitted one is something we're looking at. And we're going to do, yeah, exactly. So we're working on it, man, working on it. So that'll be a choice. And then, so that's sort of one thing. And, I don't have a ton of people helping me or anything like that. I mean, if you look, there's like hats lying all over in the house. Yeah, my wife is just like, what, you kind of crazy or something? What are you doing? But I'm like, you know what? There's a community. It's my thing. I got to do it. And, but yeah, so we're going to, there's that sort of element to it where there's that branding and the merch and all that kind of stuff, the coolness factor, personalized stuff. The second part is, look, there's a discussion, and so I've created one, which is community utility. So anyone who's in the group can post what their business is or what they do. So if you're a photographer, if you're somebody who makes movies, if you're somebody who does any other kind of work, right? You can post that in the group so people know who you are, and that's a way to kind of bring in people. There's a lot of whales in that group, man. In fact, I think most of the whales are in that group, and if they're not, they're on their way in. They just didn't, whatever. But they're all, they're all looking they're all looking to find a way. And so, to me, that is tremendous utility. When you have that power of the community to amplify what you're doing. So the community can amplify each and every one of you. If you're a YouTube creator, we will all follow you. We will, we know who you are and that engage with you. If you're a photographer and we have a need, we'll, bring you in. If you're somebody else who's doing something else, some other type of business, that's one. Then the other one I have is like a mentor venture hub. So that's a very interesting concept.
This is
so
big.
What that means, yeah.
This is big.
So what that means is that if you are in any stage of your career and you want someone to chat with for 30 minutes, no, not financial advice. This is more of, you want to lay out what would you have done, what would you do, tell me about your life, your journey, or even if you're just looking for inspiration, motivation, right? Put a note out there of what you want. If you have someone specific you want to reach out to, put that note in there. If they respond, great. Otherwise, somebody or the other will respond to you. And then you'll have a 30-minute meeting with somebody. And we've got SVPs, CEOs, scientists, artists, all kinds, all kinds of people in there. So you have somebody who reaches out to you and helps you with that separately. And this is not about junior people reaching out to senior people. You could be the SVP of a company and struggling with some decision in life, and you put it out there, and you have some other people reach out. So it's a peer thing too, not just like whatever, that type of thing. And then the other thing is about investing. Look, there's lots of money in that group. There's a lot of investors in that group. So people, there's people who are more than 100 million in that group in net worth, and there's people who are in whatever, like different stages. And so if you have an idea, whether you've already got a business, done a business, have money or not, if you have an idea that you want to launch, you can pitch that idea, and there will be people. So I have a small sort of a Zoom group that meets infrequently. Dr. Stuff, I mean, you're in that group. I won't disclose who else is in it, but it's pretty much the guys who invest a lot of money, and they have a lot of conversations on different topics. So we would basically look at investments in other ventures that come forward from that group. And each venture will stand on its own, not just saying because you're in a group, we'll put the money or whatever, but it's one where you have access to that. And even if I personally don't put money in the business, I'll connect you. I'm in the VC world, I'm in the private equity world as well. So I have lots and lots of connections, different types of VC firms who do things that I don't do. And so I'm more than happy to connect people. So that other piece is important. Then there's this whole community of chatter. OMI chatter, alpha, this, that, and the other, stacker and wallets and all that stuff. There's a whole sort of stream around that. Then there's Veve and the comic side of things. And then there's mint matching. So if you want something, you can put it in there. Or if you're looking for something, you can put it in there. So I've got all these different channels. So that's this community coming together. Then we'll have events, right? So whenever there's like a large EV IRL type of event, we'll do something. Hopefully David and Dan can come up with some kind of utility. Nothing's promised as yet, but I'm hopeful that they will do something there. So they have some gifts, airdrops or stuff like that, and they have some other types of stuff. So I'm going to, ask for that. I've already started that journey, right? So that's that. And then we have an official SR logo group in Discord as well. And that's got, they're working through ways in which they can engage the group as well with different types of things. So anyway, that's kind of that for now. I mean, I'm open to ideas and suggestions. At the end of the day, it's the collectible. The SR group is not about the quality of the collectible, man. It's about the profile and the characteristics of the people and the people coming together and bonding. And to me, that community, if everybody who sold their logo, man, it's my goal to make you cry. If I haven't already made you cry, for the people who've sold it for $500-600, if I haven't already made you cry, you wait till longer. That's my goal. I don't care about the price. I'm just going to make this so irrational not to have. I'm going to make this so irrational not to have from the community side, working with David and Dan and these guys. we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. You know.
Yeah, like Sanjay, I have to bring up that venture hub section of the channel, like
Mentor Venture Hub.
That alone, like the price that people pay dollars to get exposure to people like that, just to have these chats, is tens of thousands of dollars, right? And this is just like, hey, I can reach out to this community. Like that to me, I was shocked at. Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, before we jump off this, I just wanted to make sure that we had a chance to really outline to date, like what's going on with the utility of this token, why people, or this NFT, and why people are buying it, right? And like full disclosure, I only have one, right? So I'm not here to pump my back.
I have one. I didn't buy more. I could have bought more, but I didn't.
Like dump it on this community, and like that's the thing is when we talk about, there's so many times where people talk about a token with utility, but here's an NFT token with actual community utility that's being offered by some pretty high profile people. So really love that. I didn't know if you guys had any other comments before we jump to the next topic, which is well, two things: the one-click OMI that Randy was talking about, but then also this OMI liquidity pool on base.
What was the thing that I was talking about?
You had put up the one-click OMI, right?
Oh, yeah.
We were talking, as Sanjay was talking about, like having to bridge that IMEX bridge and that stressful period where it's just like spinning, and then you're like, is my money still there? It's not recognized, and it can be like 20 minutes. Like I had to delete my entire MetaMask wallet because there was a transaction that got stuck. It showed a transaction pending on my MetaMask, but there was no actual transaction pending on the blockchain, and I couldn't do anything else on my MetaMask. Anyways, there's a workaround that I found out afterwards, but I just had to delete my MetaMask. I was like, this is ridiculous. So there has to be better ways, right? And one of those, like you talked about, was one-click OMI. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about like what does that mean for people, right? What does one-click OMI mean? And why is there all suddenly this significantly a large liquidity pool of OMI on base chain, and what is that? So I'll open it up to anyone first and foremost, just to get this conversation started.
Yeah, sure. Just to kind of finish up on the last thing, some of the community in there is really excited to rep Veve at different events. Most recently, Veve Magic has announced exciting news. On 14 May, I'll be representing the Veve fam when I play in the 2024 NFT Poker Championships in Las Vegas. It'll be live streamed on the Poker Go YouTube channel. She will be wearing her Veve gold logo hat. And I could imagine that it's just around the corner where someone's going to be rocking their ecomi secret rare logo hat. But as far as the OMI goes, every now and then, and you've heard stories before, or at least I have, people in the medical community have, every now and then someone will have they'll have to have open heart surgery. They'll have to get, they have a couple of arteries that are clogged, whatever. They have to get a bypass, quadruple bypass, whatever it is. And every now and then a surgeon will go in and they'll say, wait a minute, the body has already developed new veins around these arteries. So we actually shouldn't do anything. Like the body has already done that for them. The surgeons they close them up immediately. It's fine. Every now and then, whenever ecomi is moving at a pace that the community doesn't like, or Veve's moving at a pace that the community doesn't like, the community steps up and they go in and they change stuff. You had that when we didn't have a marketplace. Okay, well, we had transfers and people using eBay and people using, just the trust system and escrows. When we eventually, Veve caught up, and that was fine. Now there's not really a big place, especially for Americans, to go and buy OMI. So you had somebody from the community, I don't think it's public yet, but they had gone on and opened up a new liquidity pool on base. And I think and Americans can use it. I think Uniswap has like 400,000 in liquidity on there. And that's the entire, Uniswap. On, for Ethereum, on base, you have it at like almost 300,000. And, I don't know how many people did this well, I guess we do, but one person did this. And that's just one person in the community. How many other people are going to go and set up things for if we don't have one-click? And we'll get that one-click OMI eventually. Like, their priority is ease of access to the token. Like, we will get more exchanges, not just the last two we've gotten the last, 6 to 8 weeks. We'll get more. So again, that's the power of the community. And you don't do that for something that you hate. You do that for something that you love. And that's really bullish. It's really exciting for me.
Sometimes people don't remember or they don't understand the business development times and business development life cycles. So like in crypto, we all expect things to happen now. Why? Because a lot of people don't have experience of what making it happen now is like. And I remember like Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world now, for like 15 years was running in the red. And people complaining about every day, oh, I can't believe you're buying that Amazon stock. You're stupid. It's, it hasn't made a profit. It'll never turn a profit. Now it's one of the biggest companies in the whole world. And people got caught up in the day-to-day frustrations of what wasn't going right and this wasn't going right. And oh my gosh, can you believe it's supposed to show up in 5 days and it took 12? And just like crapping on it. Why? Really, they're crapping on it because the stock price was down for forever. And so they were just frustrated and couldn't see the vision of what it would become. And now it's one of the biggest companies in the world. Sometimes I order a package and I get it later that day. Like that would have seemed impossible 10 years ago to even fathom. And yet here we are, right? So they end up over time just continually doing good things and making things happen. I think Veve has put itself in a position to have some of the best digital collectibles in the whole world with some of the biggest brands in an app that's pretty easy to use and pretty cool and way cool compared to all the competitors out there. And their token behind it, like I'm a really big believer in the token behind it. Now it feels like it's done nothing but go down for 3 years. Cool. And when it goes down, people have this recency bias that all it's done is go down for 3 years. So it's going to keep going down for the next 3 years is what goes through their mind. And if you look at charts, that's just not how it plays out. Some people are not wired to where they can buy low and sell high. And I've just had to come to realize that some people can't do that. For me, it's just like crazy. It's as simple as like eating cake. It's like, okay, I really believe in the long-term future of this project. I can see where they're going. I see they made some mistakes. Every company makes mistakes. Every single one. Amazon, Google, some of the biggest companies in the world. Apple made all kinds of mistakes. And yet they're one of the biggest companies in the world. And so ecomi's made some mistakes. Veve's made some mistakes. Yeah, so what? None of them were very big deals. And they're all getting corrected over time. And they have one of the coolest apps. Like it's, to me, I'm like, I can see where this is going. I can see what the probabilities are that ecomi does well in this bull run. Ooh, and I love that bet. So I'm a big fan. I've continued to add to my OMI position and wish I had about 900 million more.
I'm glad you brought up Apple. I was looking at them today as they had drawn down a little bit the need for the headset because in the first iteration of it, some people are like it's a little too heavy. Some people just little complaints here and there, and they add up to them drawing down, and it has lack of demand. Again, it's just the first iteration. It'll get better. The reason why I'm glad you brought up Apple is because I forget who said it, but there's something called like the Buffett index, depending on his newsletter, saying how many times does he mention a company in his newsletter quarterly updates. And Apple has been actually he's mentioned Apple a decreasing number of times over the last couple of years. So I made what's called the Barron Index for yesterday. If you guys want to go to this now, if that's something you want to get into. So Paul Barron had yet again called Veve dead, saying Solana is the Veve killer. And I think Solana has some really good things about it. I think Solana is super quick when it's up and running and it's not shut down. But reviewing a bunch of Paul Barron tweets written by him throughout 2023, he began to cover a bunch of projects owned or funded by Animoca brands such as Quid and Cryptoys. And before the start of 2023, Paul Barron mentioned or interacted with Animoca brands, a company founded in 2014, so 10 years ago, commented on them 0 times on his platform. From January 1st to yesterday, he had mentioned them a couple dozen times on his platform. Before the start of 2023, Barron mentioned or interacted with Quid, which is owned by Animoca, around 2017, 0 times on his platform. From January 1st to this date is, again, over a dozen times. Before the start of 2023, Paul Barron mentioned or interacted with Yat Su, who's chairman of Animoca, 0 times on his platform. from January 1st to yesterday's date, he had commented 36 times about them. And I could go on, but basically it just shows that the Barron Index, oh, hey, who's funding you? Who are you sweet on? Who are you cozy with? So this is all public information. You can go on his Twitter, you can go to show, you can go and do all that. That is what I call a Barron Index.
or the Paul Kramer Index, right? I love Mark's comment there. Look, so before we get too far, right, I got to shout out to some of the people in the chat. It's so awesome. We got SoCal, OMI Homie, Bill Gardner, Croner, Eddie Almeida, I mean, Bobby Green. Like, there's so many cool modes. Like, there's so many people in this community. I'm so grateful. Truck and Hank, Curious George, Vladimir, Columbet. Like, we always appreciate the OGs that are here constantly. Like, I just see so many of these names, and then the new names that I'm seeing too. I love this community, and wanted to shout you guys out there. Obviously, Tammy, like, there's a question about, and Sanjay, maybe you can answer this, but there's a question about how many people are in both the gold and silver logo, and the ecomi silver and red logo.
So I haven't done the math myself in terms of looking at wallets and stuff, but there's about 75 people that are in the Veve gold and silver logo group that I run, right? So I started that group about 2 years back, and there's 75 people from that group that have roughly about 95-ish logos, gold and silver logos, and are part. So that's sort of the overlap. And I wanted to share two points. Just maybe taking us back just a little bit. But after I founded this, co-founded this group, the ecomi SR logo group, I was literally for a whole week, I was walking around with this laptop everywhere around the house because I have my spreadsheet here. And literally every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, hour, I was sending people the link, documenting who has which logo where, whatever, blah, 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 just letting people in, right? It was massive. And you guys were a big part of it because you let people in and you were kind of doing that. But I have a full tracking of the gold and silver logo as well as the ecomi logo. I know who's who. Not everybody's doxed or anything, but a lot of them I've shipped stuff to, so I know where they, which country and stuff, and they may give me work addresses and stuff, and I really don't care, right, about all that stuff. But there's a detailed kind of a tracking of it, and I've built a bond. And so when this ecomi SR logo thing started, you have no idea how many messages I got. I got messages from all kinds of people with different degrees of wealth who basically reached out to me and said, look, you have my full support with it, and I'm going to show you my support, So when you think of someone, I don't want to name any names here, but there are some very big OMI supporters who are, some of them are big in the app, some of them are not as much big in the app. They bought 3-4 logos each. The one guy called me up and said, look, I was going to buy the whole damn thing. You're going to sweep the whole thing. He says, but I'm just letting it all kind of fall into the market and I'll pick it up. So there's a number of people that support. You'll be surprised, man. I co-founded that group with you guys, but that support means a lot.
Yeah.
That support means tremendous amount. And then there are gold and silver logo holders who said, Mr. MC1, we've been in your group for almost 2 years now. We've seen what you've done in New York and in LA, and what you've done with, merch and this, that, and the other. And we're going to support you. We're going to back you. So they went and they picked it up in the market. They were not into this whole thing, but they got it. And I just want to say big thank you to everybody who has come out and supported. Like guys like me, we'll plow our time in. I'm a believer, man. I'll create it. But at the end of the day, it's you guys who make this community what it is. And that's tremendous. I mean, I don't know if you guys wanted to comment on it or not, man, but we can go on to a different topic. But having the full support of deep OMI believers, especially since, I don't have that much OMI, man. It's 10 million OMI. That's not that much, And I've built it over time, and I'm more of a more recent kind of a believer over the last, maybe about a year or so. I've had OMI since 2 years, but, more now. And for people to trust me, that's important, man. And then the Veve gold and silver logo holders, I think a lot more of them are going to get this ecomi logo as well, especially when they see, the level of commitment that I have to this one as much as the other one.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sanjay, and that's one of the reasons that, like, I'm in a lot of different projects, and there are some that are still kind of working in the background, and I kind of pop in every now and again. I'm like, hey, what's up? And I'm like part of the OGs of some of those, right? Like, I get like special rewards and special access and stuff like that because I was like a true believer from the beginning, and like I jump in there, but like it's just like this OMI community is special. OMI, it really is, man. And so I'm with you, and I am not. Well, I love to hear that you have that support, but I'm not surprised. Right. And I remember when I started my channel and like when I first announced it and stuff, people like, there's so many people who just like, were like, they want to be there for the first live stream and people were saying, hey, I want to be a guest on it. Like, it's so awesome. Like this community is top notch. And I just had to pull up Mark's comment. I know. So reading it for the people who might just be listening, right? But Mark Wynn says, make sure you guys join the OMI logo group before Jeff Bezos does. Sanjay got them connections.
I'm not touching Jeff Bezos.
He's
met him before, but I'm not touching.
Fun little comment. So, but let me follow up with what he says next, right? He says, I'll be honest, most of these groups, like, because we've seen that in other communities where they try to start these groups or something like that of like, hey, we're a comic holder or something. A lot of them fall apart because it is so difficult to maintain that positivity and to maintain those connections. And truly, like the groups with the Veve gold and silver logo, and now this ecomi silver and red logo, the groups are as legit as they come, man. And you have been busting your butt. And we're coming up with some other things. One of the other things that you didn't bring up actually was a speaker series that's going to happen.
I was going to, but
okay.
Go ahead. You do that.
Yeah. So one of the next thing that's and the first speaker is tomorrow. I don't know. Well, Sanjay, I don't know what you want like you to announce. If I can announce who it is or what's going on, but within the economy. Okay, go ahead. You go ahead and talk about it some more.
I mean, I could just lay out the thing. So first of all, there is a speaker series. So one of the pieces of utility that I want to create for the ecomi SR logo group is to have some very top-notch speakers who are absolutely at the top of their game, whether they're in the group or not, and to share their perspective. So the first guest is none other than Dr. Prophet. So Dr. Prophet, I reached out to him, and over the years, I've got to know him, and I met him, and I have a lot of respect for him. And most people know that Stacker is backed by Dr. Prophet. They think it's about tracking collectibles and wallets and this, that, and the other. And the reality is it is much, much more. They have announced some of it they've not announced. I don't know all the details of what's not yet been announced, but I know directionally what it is. And it's what people have been asking related to OMI for a long time. And so tomorrow's interview, it's in the evening tomorrow. And I plan to, really get into it with Dr. Prophet. Just first part of it will be just his background and just the setup, and he'll share his perspective on how he's gotten into that type of thing, right? That story, I don't think many people know what that story is. So I'm going to cover that first with him and get that from him. And we'll see how much he shares. And then I'm going to ask him about Stacker and what he does today. And then the really key alpha is to probe and push him on telling us what are all these different plans that he has with Stacker, especially with the wallet, with OMI. There's more to it, man. I don't want to blow it here, but I'm going to ask Dr. Prophet to explain all that. So that's going to be an exclusive speaker series for the ecomi SR logo holders. And it's also going to be broadcast on the Veve Gold and Silver logo channel. So they'll also have access to that content. But, that's just a start. After that, it's my intent to bring in more speakers with you guys. I've obviously reached out to Crypto Rain. He is, he's the man. He's got all the connections. We've got Randy, who's got all these connections with all these other whales, and in Veve and outside of Veve, and Doc with you as well, right? You have a lot of connections. And I've reached out to some of these other guys too to say, look, we might do it once a month. We might do it every 3 weeks. Basically, whenever we know that there's some alpha coming out, in or outside of Veve, don't care. We'll bring in some top experts to kind of speak. But anyway, that's the speaker series. It's going to be on Discord. So if you have a Veve Ecomi red and silver logo and you're not in the Discord, go to the Veve official Discord, Ecomi official Discord, number one. There you have a red silver verify. There's a channel called Red Silver Verify. So you have to submit your proof of being a SR Ecomi logo holder. Then you get access to these hidden channels that are just for the SR holders, which includes a stage where there's voice. It includes a chat. It includes some other stuff. And then we're building that as well. A vast, putting cheeks to kind of build that along with the group. So anyway, super excited about that. So please make sure that you've signed up. Don't wait for last minute. It does take time for them to let you in to validate and stuff. And then similarly, if you're a Veve Gold and Silver logo holder and you want to catch that, make sure that you're in the Veve Discord. Make sure you're on the Gold and Silver logo channel, the voice channel there. You'll have this thing being broadcast.
Yeah, that's so epic. Rain, I want to get your thoughts. I haven't heard from you in a little bit, but just on a couple things. the Paul Barron terrible engagement farming. I'd love to hear more about that, and then also your thoughts on the OMI token on base and what that could potentially mean, and why an individual would have put that liquidity pool on there.
Yeah, a couple of things. So there's pressures on YouTubers that most people don't realize that they don't think about. So think about if your primary income came from revenues from your YouTube channel. So then you've got to look for some kind of sponsors or something because you're dependent on that revenue. You have people that work for you. And so you become a captive market to some extent, right? So I don't know how Paul Barron funds himself. It was really cool that for a number of years, he was really big on Veve and ecomi. And then right at the bottom of the charts, he's like, oh, ecomi is falling off or Veve is falling off our indicator, whatever. Like, I'm not going to support this project anymore. And what's interesting as an investor, like I made so much money buying low and selling high. And it's almost like he was endorsing selling low because it was low. And instead of like buying more, and I was like, well, that was a really dumb decision. I mean, the long term of Veve is just so apparent to me. How he's missing it, I have no idea. And I otherwise like really liked a lot of his analysis, not everything. Like he does have a media background and not like as savage of an investment background as I have. Like I've loved investment for 25 years now. That's what I think about all the time. Even when I was like 12, I was thinking about investment. So it's just what I think about. And I think about economics. So I was disappointed in that. And then to have him go and say things like OMI is dead and stuff, I just like, how dumb is that? And look, maybe he's got a sponsor with Animal Brands that he's not exactly clear about. Okay, whatever. But like, I believe strongly that like your audience is so important. And there's this weird incentive on YouTube to talk about things when they're up. Because you'll get way more views because people are searching for whatever's hot, and so you'll get way more traction on that. You get way more subscribers. And because you're getting a lot of traction on that and people are watching it because it's hot, you will grow your channel tremendously, though your audience will do really poorly. And so there's pressures on all YouTube creators that way. Like I made the decision when I created the channel that my channel wasn't about that. And it was never about revenues. I make my money through investing. It was about, I'm already doing this research. I'm going to share what I'm doing anyway. Also with having a channel, it will allow me to have reach to the teams because I found as an investor in 2020, I had $40,000 invested in a project and I couldn't get past their Telegram admin who didn't know anything. And he would not connect me up with the team because I was just an investor. And then the next day I saw the CEO go on a YouTube channel that had like 1,800 subscribers. And I was like, man, if I could just get over 1,800 subscribers, maybe I could do interviews and we could all, the audience and me, we would learn more about this project because I need to hear their vision. I need to get a feel for them. I want to talk to the team itself. So it helps me make better things. But a lot of people don't realize those misaligned incentives from people with a YouTube channel. So Paul Barron, I don't know where his money revenues come from or his sponsors. I'll let him worry about that. What he says about ecomi and Veve, I can just say it's plain dumb. either it's uneducated or whatever. Like he's just wrong. And that's cool. Like I remember in 2019, 2020, like most people with a YouTube channel were crapping on Cardano all day long. And I was buying it, and Cardano went to 100x for me. I didn't even get at the bottom because from there it went 200x. And yet 80% of YouTube channels were all negative on Cardano. It had a similar thing that for 3 years, the price had gone down and people had lost faith. And, you know, some people say, oh, they're not the same at all because Cardano, they don't know how much Cardano struggled back then. And people didn't even know if they would survive because they weren't around. So all they see is Cardano now as a behemoth, and they don't realize that there's a very real chance they ran out of money and they wouldn't make it because they weren't around then. There's a lot of similarities. And ecomi isn't even running out of money. Like Veve is one of the actual crypto projects that actually has revenues coming in. 99% of the crypto projects out there do not have actual revenues coming in. They're just like, man, I hope we can survive before our cash runs out. Like we hope the bull market comes before our cash runs out because we have no revenues coming in whatsoever. So I feel like ecomi Veve is in a strong place. Paul Barron's missing it. Oh, well. What was the other question?
Well, hey, Rain, real quick. I'm gonna share something because I gotta give a shout out to Veve Fan Bam on this topic. I don't know if you guys saw her screen, her comment, right? So Paul Barron makes this post, and then let's see.
Scroll up.
She says, let me get it right now.
It's scroll up. You're going the wrong way. It's like right under the post, I think. Yeah.
No, this was
different one.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So the post says Solana will be the death of Veve. D-Reader app is the future of digital comics. Look, now I know that he's just tweeting this out to get a response from the community. And as much as we're sitting there saying like, oh, you're the worst, look at the engagement he got from that. If he had not said Veve is dead, guaranteed he wouldn't have gotten these views, right? And he knows that. So I have to give him credit for that, right? So he's trolling the community, and that's fine. But man, the clap back from Veve Fan Bam, this from a guy who gave A grades to companies that went out of business a few months later. It's okay though. We know you're just looking for engagement on your page, and you know this is how you get it. So here's the funny comment back, right? So he's talking about this D-Reader. Look who responds to it. D-Reader. Like, oh snap. He responded on that. So I mean, I just had to share that part. I was laughing at it, and it's just fun, right? And look, this is how ardent the community is, you know. So anyways, to go back, Rain, to the next question I asked for you, it was about the OMI liquidity pool on base, and kind of like what do you think that means, or why would someone do that?
So, well, what's cool is this will make the ease of getting OMI easier, because one of the main complaints about ecomi, and it's a valid complaint, is how difficult it is to get it. However, like if they really saw the true vision of it, they would celebrate how hard it is still to get while looking forward to the day that that's fixed. And the reason is because as an investor, I like to buy low. So prior to crypto, I was buying houses and land and small apartment complexes, real estate essentially. And one of the things with land was buying before the roads were built. In fact, sometimes it was hard to get to. And you made way more money if you bought then, and then that was fixed, and it was easy to get to. And then the value of the land would like triple or quadruple sometimes. And so like, are you wanting to still buy and pick up because it's low? Because that's a good time to buy, because all those bridges aren't built, but there's yet another bridge coming, which will open the door for people to be able to get it cheap, because they'll be able to get it cheap on base. And so it's a little bit of pain that you have to bridge some ETH over to base. You'll have to bridge some funds over to base, and then you can swap it for really, really cheap compared to what you can swap it for on Uniswap. And that's also new. And so it might be kind of hard the first time you do it, but once you've done it, you're like, oh, that's really simple. And where Coinbase is going, I wouldn't be surprised if down the road, it makes it easy to get ecomi on Coinbase at some point. which that is a really big deal, because once ecomi you can just perch on Coinbase, the amount of people in the US and other parts of the world that can buy it simply goes huge. And I feel like that's a step that will alleviate a problem so more people can easily buy it, but will also lead into, at some point, I think people are going to go crazy for the OMI token. When they do, it'll be a good inroad to easily get it on Coinbase itself. And if that happens, then you know, the amount of people being able to buy it will go up, and then the price will go up. So it's like, cool. Do you like cheap prices? Because it's cheap now. Is it hard for you to get? Yeah. If you're in the US, pretty much on Uniswap is where you can get it. And that's frustrating. That's a pain. Kind of like I bought this piece of land way out in the boonies. It was really hard to get to. And at the time I just had a GeoPrism, and I drive it out there and people would laugh at me. They're like, you're going to get that thing stuck. And then they got some roads closer to it and the price of land tripled. And I was like, yay, that was really exciting for me. Is this all that different? Because I don't think it is.
Look, I think, you know, at the end of the day, the people will come here for one of multiple reasons and stay for another. So, for example, people come for Veve, buy OMI, and stay for OMI as well. People come for OMI, see the Veve part, because now if they have that extreme utility, then, you know, you get that other cross action as well. So if you look at, and then Veve is obviously expanding all these categories that they're doing. They're trying to do more with OMI and stuff like that. So there's all this stuff, right? And I'm really, 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 you know, very, very sort of positive about that ability for the company and for us as a community to be able to attract the right type of people. I mean, guys like Dr. Profit, guys like Puddin' Cheeks, OMI the Clown, OMI Daily Burn, Veve Fox, you know, these people are building. They're building functionality. You know, and that's, so if you haven't heard the word Mentalysis, you know, you will. They're building functionality, real functionality that's valuable to people that buy NFTs on Veve and off Veve. If you look at Stacker, where it started is peanuts compared to where they're going. That's real functionality. So there's guys in our community who are building functionality that will take Veve a long time to do. And, you know, there's like a third rail too, you know, like if it's a lot of price information, Veve doesn't really want to do that. You know, there's like a bunch of stuff there. Then, you know, there's guys like you guys, you produce content. You're a magnet. You guys are all magnets for people. And the more that functionality gets built, the more your message gets amplified. And I think you're going to bring it. And me, myself, man, like I consider myself like as a VIP concierge. So I'm a concierge boy, man. That's what I do. I'm the concierge. I have a couple of groups. I have the Veve Gold Logo group. I have this ecomi SR group. You know, by the way, I want to show you guys this thing. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I've been posting it on social. So this is a gold color box. When you open it, there's like a Veve hat with gold and silver logo. And inside it, there's like, when you open this up, there's a note from David and Dan. I got them to write these notes, individual notes. So there's 20 of these. So I'm sending this to each of the first 20 people that hit level 100, right? So essentially, a lot of these guys are off. They're very private. They're off doing their own things. We don't know who they are. Some people know who they are, but they're. So I'm trying to build that trust and connection with these guys. So I'm able to pull them into that one nucleus so we can, you know, row together, right? And so my goal is to bring in a lot of these level 100s, get them these big Veve whales to be active with OMI and with other stuff. My goal is to also connect the people who are in the Veve Gold Logo group into that ecomi group, you know, and SR Logo group, and create that bond. And my belief is that around this nucleus, we will attract, once we have this group, you know, and it's not just us, it's the artists, Ron English, Simone Legno, Peach, Jason Naylor, Mumbat, Alison Bamcat. These are all amazing people, you know, Brian Morris, Fabriques, all of these people, Brock, you know, they're all part of our ecosystem, right? And they come to our parties and stuff. I have a relationship with them now and bringing them in. So between all these artists, the IP, and Veve and us together, That's that big freaking nucleus, and we're getting bigger, and we have to continue to sort of bond and bring this group in. Then others will flock to us. That's how you get that power of community, man. And will it happen or not happen in the end? I don't know, but I want to work on it, man. I want to work on it.
Sanjay, like, you just this is amazing. I love what you're building. I love what you're building, and we're here to help you, right? And you have that support. And look, this is why projects with communities, real strong communities, survive bear markets, right? Is people stick for that, stay for the community. And just like Jordan Riz had said, he's like, look, if it wasn't for the community, I probably would have sold all my OMI and left a long time ago, but he's still here because of it. He has his Around the Ecomiverse show every Monday, right, where he has guests on and things. So it's great. So I want to address a couple things here. So the first one is talking a little bit more about why having OMI on base, right, is important, and what's being built, what Coinbase is building, and around base, right? So I'm going to share this here. All right. So this is an article. So Coinbase has recently released smart wallets, okay? And it basically is saying Coinbase's smart wallet will disrupt the financial sector. And like what it's doing is it's basically, to summarize it, you can have your fund, you can just upload your funds to Coinbase, right? Just your normal Coinbase account. But through the smart wallet that will interact, you will be able to interact with decentralized applications and pull funds directly from your Coinbase account. What does that mean? That means that you will not need to use a MetaMask anymore. You won't have to send it to MetaMask to then operate PancakeSwap, right? You'll just be able to use PancakeSwap and buy the token. So you don't need to this is massive. And it's part of their goal to their mission to bring 1 billion users on chain. Okay, so why is that important? As dApps are built around Base and those swaps, right? Then on your Coinbase wallet, you will be able to transact on the Base chain with super low fees, and you won't need your MetaMask. That is massive. And so the ability to buy OMI, when we talk about one-click OMI, this is like two-click OMI, basically, right? Like is what it will become as Coinbase continues to build this out. Now, I think that there's going to be a one-click OMI, which that is the main goal, but this is the next step to it. And there's two things. The one-click OMI will be layer 2 OMI for people to use in the app. But this two-click OMI type thing, right? That will be for people who just want to buy and sell and trade the token. And what does that do? Look, other exchanges, they care about volume. Volume is a big thing because that's where they make fees, right? And if they can start seeing the volume on Base as people are able to buy and sell with those cheap fees, that gets additional exposure. So there's a lot of reasons why I think it's a big deal that this liquidity pool is on Base for what Coinbase is building. So anyways, I just wanted to share that. And then I wanted to address, I love the dancing, a couple of things here. Look, I want to give some shout outs to people. A lot of times I think that people feel like we only cover or show the comments that are positive. And I don't think that that's healthy, right? I think it is important to show the people with concerns. Look, Dino saying we have the same people over and over again. It gets dull and boring. Look, like we're still, this is the second series, but I get it. Like there's a lot of shows and there are a lot of the same people, but we are looking at getting some additional people on. In fact, we have a plan for the next episode 3 of this, that we're going to have an individual on who's never been on the channel before, on any of these channels before. So we're building it out, but I appreciate that. And then again, another comment that he makes, right? Anyone who has concerns is immediately a futter. Maybe you haven't watched some of the channels or the shows in a while, Dino, but like, I think that we do a pretty good job of delineating the difference between someone with legitimate concerns and then someone who's just like literally all they do is anytime there's something negative on Veve or ecomi, they pop up, in the comments and they're trolling, and like it's like just a vacuum, like I don't know, like this universe of negativity from these individuals. Those are the fuckers, right? Like, because anything good that's announced, they're nowhere to be seen. right? But the people who are like, hey, and look, so NFT Hero, talking about liquidity is still an issue. That's true. Right now, this is still a new thing, and there's a lot of people who still don't know how to use Base. But this is the next step, right? And so that's why I'm bullish on it. And look, so some of the things that we've said, where we said Veve and ecomi, they've made mistakes. There have been some statements that people would consider lies, right? About like, hey, we're having like, you're going to be interoperable. These things are going to be interoperable with, within the next quarter. And people make financial decisions based on that, right? So now people can look at it that way. And I don't disagree. Like, I will never take away those feelings of frustration. I've had those myself, right? But we look at those, and I look at it in entirety, and I say, okay, I can either get emotional about that and be frustrated and leave. And some people have, and that's their right, right? Or you can say, okay, well, that sucks. Do I still trust the team, or what are the issues, or were there reasons why interoperability didn't come, right? And so I choose to look at it that way. I believe that there was regulations and things that started to pop in, and then all of a sudden IPs got panicked, and maybe they had plans, and then it changed. But it's true. We'll never know. It could be that maybe they were trying to deceive us. I think everyone has to take that into consideration when they're deciding whether or not to stick with a project. But I think it's important to address those and to talk about it. For me personally, I look at what I believe the team is building, and there have been some statements that I've made decisions on that have not occurred. But do I believe that interoperability in some way, shape, or form will happen? Yes. Am I very disappointed that it didn't happen when we were told it was going to happen? Yes. There's that too, right? So anyways, I just want to make sure that we are addressing some of the comments. So Dino, man, if you're upset and things, like, I get it. There are moments to be upset. Sometimes the people are upset because the price, they believe that things were going to pump and they didn't. And so they're down bad. And you look at Bored Ape Yacht Club and you look at their community of 10,000. And I've talked to people who are in those communities, and they're like, in their Discord, so much FUD and so much frustration. Why isn't the team doing this? Why isn't the team doing all this, right? This was touted as like the best, like the number one NFT project, how everyone else should do it. This is the golden child. This is the roadmap. And they're getting flooded. Why? Because of price. And people have talked about their lies. Like this happens. And so you can decide, right? And everyone gets to decide and say, look, like, I'm out. Like, I don't feel like I trust the team. I'm out. And that's okay, right? Like, I'll never like discredit that. But at the same time, we're talking about the things that we are excited about, acknowledging that those mistakes and statements have been made, and we move forward with it. But anyways, I just had to make sure that we address some of that, and showing some more of these comments. Base is legit. So, okay. One of the other topics that I wanted to make sure that we talked about here, Randy, you had talked about a little bit about, to me earlier, the comic concern, comic controversy, right? This massive partnership with Marvel, right? Where basically people, instead of having to pay a subscription with Marvel Infinite, like, they have to wait 90 days for a newly physical release comic for them to be able to read it digitally. Correct. Right? And so Marvel does this partnership with Veve to say, hey, now through Veve's website, you can buy the digital version the same day as the physical release. Oh, but on top of that, if you just want the digital version, it's $5. If you want this special edition that's limited and has different covers, you can get it in a digital collectible format, right? And there's this rarity attached to it. Oh, and by the way, it's only $3 more for an upgraded digital comic. And there was a lot of excitement around it. There's all this. And now there's some controversy where people are upset. Do you want to talk about that and what's happening?
Yeah, sure. One, I can't wait for Veve to one day maybe go public, for them to have all their line items on there so we could read their profit and loss and balance sheet, because I'm so curious how much they're making on this new venture, where they don't have to pay 30% to Apple or Google, where it's just straight up with the credit card. That's going to be so fun to learn. But yeah, now you have people that had bought some of these comics, that they were valuing them. That is a funny word. I'll get into that later. But they were valuing them at what price they were paying, and they were looking at them as an investment, which is fine, even though Veve has been very clear these are not investments. This is just a vehicle, and people can use that vehicle however they want. They've been very smart about that. But people were buying it. First we had a couple of comics at 60,000 mint runs, then 30,000, then 10,000, and now there are a few at 7,500, 5,000, and I think the Tarzan comics are 3,500. So as the user base had consolidated a little bit, you kind of have a lot of these true collectors at heart, and maybe a good amount of flippers as well. They bought a bunch of those at $5, $10, whatever they were. The price has slowly gone down, and now they pump in like a dozen new comics every week, all of which have 980 editions. And now some of the people that were looking at the product as an investment, or whether it's a quick flip, I'm not sure of their timeline, they're a little salty because now you have a bunch of these newer comics that are a lot scarcer. And right now, scarcity just happens to rule, at least as far as the price. That gets reflected in there. It is what it is. It's basically the same way in where people that buy current Pokemon cards, hey, they get the super pristine chase card. They send it to PSA, which now they can't even do because PSA fired their Pokemon guy. I was talking with David about that the other day, hoping some type of VV signatures can dominate now. But after a few months, they get it back, and then they have a 1 of 10 or a 1 of 20 Pokemon card. And then Pokemon realizes, hey, the set is super popular. And they go on and they print more product. And suddenly, now that they print more product, a lot of people get that chase card, and they go and they send it to PSA, and it dilutes. Like, does anyone go to Pokemon or Walmart and say, stop carrying this Pokemon card, stop printing these? No. I mean, there's people that are upset, and there's people that are upset that bought the first edition PSA 10 card of whatever card that was, and that's just investing. That's risk, and you have to, people are learning a lesson. And how much did they pay to learn that lesson? Depends how much they bought these for. In Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, Lord of Rohan goes and says, like, I'm not going to risk open war. And Aragorn goes and says, open war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not. You might not look at this as an investment. And some people don't. Some people, they just use it, they value it as a product that they have for fun. They're going to read it. They're going to pass it on to their kids. But this is an investment, and you have to look at the parameters of what you're investing in. And some people haven't, and now they will because they got burned, and, lesson learned.
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. So many people, they're like, oh, this is an investment opportunity. I'm going to make some money on this. And then it doesn't pan out for them. And it's like, this is all your fault, Veve, even though you never promised or said that. Like, they're like, this is a collector's app. That's what they keep saying. Now, there are some opportunities. Look, I'm buying some stuff that I believe long-term will have value. I could be wrong on that. But if I'm wrong on that in like 10 years, right? Like, I'm not going to turn around to Veve and be like, oh my gosh, you rug pulled me or something. Like, no one goes into a comic store, buys the comic, and then like literally comes back the next day and is like, you sold some more comics. You just brought in new comics. My comic isn't worth as much anymore because there's like, no one does that, right? They buy the comic because they want to read it and because they love it. And some of them are like, hey, long term, I hope that this has value, and then they send it away, right? If they think it's like the number one comic of a series or something like that. Like, why is this any different? I don't understand. And so now, to be fair, one of the comments is about drawing liquidity from the market, right? And sure, like that is happening. And I think it's important to be transparent about that. There are people who are like, well, if this collaboration with Marvel didn't happen, they would probably just be buying the comics that are there on the app right now. But now instead, they're using a credit card and they're buying it on the release on the store. But here's what I think is kind of ironic. You have some of these people who are complaining and they're saying, look, this gem issue of Veve having to pay 30 cents on the dollar to Apple. Like, what are their financials like? This is highly concerning. And so all of a sudden, then Veve does this partnership with Marvel on the web app where they're getting all these funds. They're not paying any Apple fee. They also have the web app themselves where you can buy gems and things there, and they're not paying that 30%. But this is another income stream. And so instead of being like, wow, this is shoring up the financial position of Veve to offset some of that 30%, instead of like recognizing that, right, the next thing is, well, now you're drawing liquidity from the market. Like there are always going to be people who are just never happy.
So there's a different point though, Dr. Doc. Can I add one point
here?
Oh,
please.
Very critical point here. So the Veve Comics app, the way it's built is if you're somebody who loves reading comics, you can't make it to the physical store. You really want to read something on the day off. You can buy it with your credit card, not the NFT. You can just buy a digital comic and read it. It's not an NFT.
Right.
You can upgrade it if you like with a credit card. And then remember, once you do that, you cannot sell it for cash. You have to sell it on the app with gems. And that's when so it's a on-ramp for people who read comics who have nothing to do with crypto, let alone OMI. They've got nothing to do with it. And their first landing spot is gems. And then they get exposed to OMI. So, this gem squeeze, like this is you got to look at the big picture and the long-term view here. So look, I've been in so many meetings now. I go to all these different types of executive lunches and, keynote speakers and stuff. The word digital twin is becoming very big. Digital twin, wherever you go. Like I went to a lunch, there was a guy speaking. They're building a digital twin for DFW airport. Okay. So this whole digital trend and theme is becoming bigger, both in the corporate world and in the individual world. So, if you've got a very small view of next week's liquidity is coming out or this week's liquidity is coming out, that's a very narrow view to a new onboarding platform where someone who has nothing to do with NFTs, nothing to do with crypto, comes in and then finds themselves in a world where they can enter, and then they go into it, and that's how they find it and experiment with it. So, I mean, like whether the gem squeeze is big or small, I think it's more the point that you've got a new channel for onboarding, and this channel will take time to develop, right? It's still so new, but my perspective is over time. In time, we'll say thank you, So if you've got a long-term view, I don't think you care. If you're a short-term view, it's a real problem.
Yeah, and that's where I thought it was funny. Dino's comment, let's start changing from fundamentals to fundamentals in the bull market, right? Look, this is not the project for that, to be honest, right? And there are projects like that. And that's where we talk about diversification all the time, because when I first started, when I was talking to Rain and getting into crypto, and he had all of these different positions, and I had like 3 tokens, right? And none of my tokens were pumping in 2021 in like April and May, and he'd be like, oh man, this one just pumped, it's done like an 8x, or this one's done a 15x, and I was like, what's going on, and I was so frustrated. I'm just staring at the tokens, and I'm like, do something, and I had that same mindset of like, I need things to pump, I'm in here to get rich quick. There are potential tokens. Meme coins is one of them. High risk, extremely high risk, high reward, right? Like the fundamentals on that stuff. And then there's actual projects with fundamentals that also have some fundamentals, but those are really risky too, because the fundamentals get them into potential regulatory scrutiny, right? In the SEC and lawsuits. And then guess what happens to your investment if that happens? It goes zero, right? And so for me, and this is where we try to be as transparent as possible, OMI and Veve is a longer term play. OMI will be here in 5 years. 95% of the top 500 tokens right now, or 1,000 tokens, right? Like they won't be here. Like they'll be gone, right? Like they just won't be here. So I love OMI, and I love what they're building there. The utility that Sanjay is talking about, I think, is so important as people get introduced to that. And the purpose that the OMI token will be the utility token for the Veve app, and what that means. And we're starting to see that play out, right? So anyways, like I just love that. I loved some of the comments though. With
I would love to see Veve increase the number. So there's some people who already have 10 million in the app. I'd like to see Veve increase the number to 15 or 20. When Veve increases it 20
or 100 or 100.
Man, like you guys, man.
look at him. Oh, wait a second. Now he's like, I want to price some people out, but not price myself out. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you price me
Hey,
out. But anyway,
go ahead and go to $1 billion. I'll figure it out.
But listen, the whole point is that doubles up with the existing audience. It doubles up how much OMI is getting put in the app. Then next thing that happens, let's say you bring in more people. Now you have those people kind of bringing stuff in. So look, it's a utility token, and Veve is now creating, you get points for it, right? We have points, we have a lot of points, you can't use them. I'm not too thrilled about, not being able to use them in ways in which I'd like to. Just going for a drop ain't good enough for me. And I told David that, look. So they've got to figure out creative ways to make those points more attractive. Now, one of the other things that they promised but haven't delivered in this quarter. So they kind of got us all happy by doing the airdrop, but to be able to use your 10 million OMI status on the app to get access to certain drops and all that other stuff, right? That hasn't come as yet. So if they have kick-ass drops and you have that ability to use your OMI status in the app to that, now you have a lot of people who don't have OMI. There's a lot of them who really love the app, who are going to want to put that money in there. So this 1-click, 2-click OMI is going to be a good thing. But to me, there's all those things are also drivers, man. There's a lot of positive drivers. These are all in play. Increasing from 10 million to 15, 20 million or whatever it is in play. That's a strategy that like they haven't pulled the lever on it, but they can do it anytime. There's the mechanism to do it. The ability to use your status to go for drops, to benefit on Veve, right? Like maybe the Veve guys don't really care. Like, people are only into Veve, not into OMI, don't really care about the logo, right? But the day you know that the OMI status is going to get you Pokemon or whatever the hell else, man. Like, I'm just using the word. I don't know if they got Pokemon or not, but some serious IP. You get how many people are going to put 10 million in there?
Pokemon confirmed.
No, how many people are going to put 10 million in? So, just
sure.
pick any IP, man. Anime, some, like whatever, man. Like pick a Charizard or whatever, like some, I don't know what else anime stuff there is or, manga stuff there is. But if you were to pick some other stuff like that and put it in there, how many people show up with 10 million OMI, man? Tell me.
Yeah.
So Veve needs to do more of that to drive the demand as well. More people, but also same people putting more and creating real utility.
So this is why I think it's so important that I shared your background, Sanjay.
No.
Right? When we're hearing your comments and your long-term vision, this is someone who's worked with tech companies and built companies and really, really big global companies. And so, like, I love that you're sitting there and you have this contact with David and you're like, hey, FYI, these are things, right? Like, these are some of these ideas. That experience is so invaluable. So, again, when we talk about, like, long-term viability of it, we have people like Sanjay. And there's more people like Sanjay with, like, a wealth of experience in a lot of different areas that that definitely have some amazing ideas and are putting that forward to the team, and so just this long-term vision of where it's happening. And so when people talk about, like, NFT hero, I hope the NFT narrative comes back. I believe it will, like, and it might be digital collectibles, but like Sanjay just said, they're already doing digital twins. Like if you could just take a step back and look at where things are moving towards. So even like the NFT narrative, like it might be, maybe there will be a narrative in the crypto bull run, right? But where I also see Veve and like going is that people will just have digital collectibles. Like that will be the thing, right? Like everyone will have digital collectibles. Like it will be a household name. Digital collectibles. Grandmas buy their grandkids for their birthdays. This might be 20 years from now. I don't know, right? But long term, like, digital collecting is not going away. There's only so much space, physical space that we have on this earth. And there's a lot of countries where people, they don't have shelves where they can stack their stuff, right? Because if they do that, they got to get rid of their dishwasher, right? So they're not going to have a shelf. They're going to have a dishwasher, but they want to be a part of the collecting experience, right? And so if they can have that on an app and still show their fandom, and oh, by the way, if there's like a metaverse or there's a Veve verse, right, where they can interact with like-minded people and do the flexes that way because they can't do it in their own physical. This is the way things are going, and so I just appreciate that insight that you have there. So now for price pumping, if you're NFT here, if you're talking about the OMI token price and Veve collectibles right now in the next 12 to 18 months, yeah, a narrative would be pretty important for that really to cause those prices pump. Like I won't disagree with that.
So we have 20,000 people that are monthly active, right? There are 20,000 unique wallets that are monthly active. Now I don't know the wealth status of all these wallets or whatever. But if Veve were to make it so insanely irrational not to have 10 million OMI in the app, right? Like that's the main thing. You gotta have, to be God in the app, you gotta have 10 million, right? Like 10 million opens up all these doors for you, right? In the app. Do the math. 10 million times 20,000. I'm not saying that's going to happen. There's obviously, a lot of people can't afford it and stuff. But even if you just say, even on the 20,000, I'm just making a point here, right? You can divide it by whatever number you want. If you take 20,000 people, multiply it by 10 million OMI, you have close to 200 billion OMI. Existing people, right? Existing people, if you make it irrational not to have. Now, obviously, there are some people who cannot afford it and this, that, and the other. Maybe there's some people who only put 1 million OMI or whatever else it is. That type of math of even the people that are here. Now, if you have something really good that brings in the people that left, they're watching. All those guys who left, right? All those guys who left Veve, they're still watching. The big drops, they come. So if you have something pretty amazing for them, and then you kind of incent them to have that, to be eligible for the next golden moments equivalent, you got to have freaking at least 5 million OMI in the app, right? Guess how many 5 millions come in, man? You know what I mean?
So I like this comment that Jake has here, that there are some financial barriers, right? If you have 5 million, that does price some people out. Sure. That's true. But here's the point though, Jake, is that some of these things, for example, with MCP points, right? You have to own collectibles to get MCP points. And the more collectibles you have, the more sets you have, the more MCP points you get. But the nice thing about that is there's only a section of each drop, a percentage of each drop that is tied to those MCP points. So Veve will always have, right, a low barrier to entry on drops and things, but just like real world, look at Disney, the Disney 23 crew, who gets into that, right? Not a lot of people. There's a financial barrier to entry, but you're able to accommodate different tiers and price points for people, and I think that's important too, right? We want massive whales to come in, but to do that, you've got to incentivize them and make it make sense for them as well, right? So, there's different structures and tiers, but where you can still have a lot of different price points for people, and that's what I love on the drop, that everyone still has the same chance, so. But then if you have MCP points, you're rewarded for that. If you have OMI, you get a little bit more MCP points on a daily basis for that, and that's what they're trying to build. And so I love these ideas, though, that Sanjay's bringing up, because for certain aspects and certain things, I think it is important to incentivize the whales who, let's be honest, guys, like the Dr. Profits of the world, the Bezosmans, they're buying your bags, right? They're buying up the floors, they're buying your bags. And if they're gone, then this is a true collector's app, and you're just getting it, with probably no incentive. So,
well, I think, so this, in this conversation itself, there was another thing that came up, right? Crypto Rain said, why don't we make it 100 million? I'm saying yes. So make something available for guys who put 100 million in the app. There may be 25 of them or maybe 30 of them, but do something for them. I don't care, man. Give them a secret rare. But what that does is it's locking up OMI, man. It's creating demand for OMI, and it's locking up OMI. So
it also makes...
have a tier where there's 100 million tier. I don't care, man. I have only 10 million. But I'm okay with that. Give these guys something. Then have something for the 50 million guys. Have something for the 10 million guys. Have something for 5 million guys. Now, that same old math I told you, you don't even need to divide it by 5 to get to whatever number you want to. So there's many ways in which you can do this, man. I'm just saying, I would love to see ecomi and Veve increase the amount that you put in the app, more tiers, because there's more OMI that gets, demand for OMI goes up, and then separately to create that insane value, at different tiers. I mean, this is not like a whale game or whatever, just, have different tiers. So you get something for putting like $1 million that's still, better than putting nothing, right?
It also benefits the new people, because then if they have OMI, the value of their OMI increases because of that. And so, yes, it's hard for many people. They won't be able to get into 100 million OMI, but if they did something like that, it would drive up the price of OMI. And so you would get to reap some massive rewards there. And so sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, that would leave me out of the dust. Like, what if the reward was just some secret rare they specifically created for that? And sure, you get left out of the secret rare, but that might triple the price of your OMI in addition to what would have happened anyway. So it didn't hurt you at all. It gave you a benefit. It just didn't give you as much benefit as the people who then locked up 100 million on the app. I did want to share like a bigger vision, right? So I grew up pretty poor. And I was always like, how do some people have money and some don't? And I really studied that because I wanted to have money, because money meant options. And I learned about this thing called investing. But what I learned about investing is you have to have this golden vision, because we don't get to go forward in time and then take a time machine back and see exactly how it happened, and then go back. So you have to be sitting at a certain point of time and see how things are coming together, and you make guesses. So sure, if we go back in time to 1952, who wouldn't buy like 1,000 Mickey Mantle rookies? Why? We already know how that played out. But in 1952, do you know? You don't even know who Mickey Mantle was. You didn't know that he would end up being a big deal, because now that you have a time machine, okay, 1952 tops Mickey Mantle rookies, great. So we don't have that ability. We have to look at what is the moment of time and how are things coming together to make forecasts and guesses. What I love with Veve and ecomi, nobody's been talking about it in a while, but David was going to China and working out things with China. Imagine if China opened for Veve users, because I look at this and I'm like, wow, how many are they doing the right things that are going to attract massive new people as crypto becomes a really big thing again? And we're not there yet. We've seen very few new people coming into crypto yet, but as Bitcoin breaks 100,000, you will see waves of people start coming in. And you have new people coming in, and what will they gravitate to? Well, at first Bitcoin, but then people start gravitating to something that they can wrap their mind around. You have lots of new people coming into Veve, not just in the United States, but all over the world, possibly even China. And what happens is those collectibles right now that seem like they're so easy to get and there's abundance of them, well, these are some of the first 4 years of collectibles that are out there. And if I'm right on Veve, down the road, you'll have millions and millions and millions of collectors. And what will they want? Some of the early stuff that was released way before they came in, and they're going to have to buy it from somebody. And that's going to escalate the prices on those things. 1952, Mickey Mantle rookies cost you nothing. You could probably pick them up for a penny. The reason they're up so much value is they were worthless to people at the time. They were putting them in their bicycle spokes. And there are very few compared to the amount of demand that there is for them. And if we have 100 million people come into Veve over the coming 10 years, what do you think the price of some of these early things might do? The Todd McFarlane Batman, some of the other big collectibles that people really want, what will they probably go to, or what will they possibly go to? We don't have the time to go. We don't have the ability to go 6 years in the future and then rewind time and then come back and buy. So you have to make your decisions now. So as an investor, like, if you think I get everything right, I don't. I mean, my first bear market, only 35% of what I bought survived, because I was pretty new in figuring out a system, and there's a lot of crap out there. But with the 35% that survived, I made 20x in my entire portfolio from what I put in, with only a 35% success rate. I'd like to think this past bear market, I did a lot better than that. But ecomi is one of my safer bets, right? I feel like ecomi is like, the chances that it fails from here coming into the bull market is really, really low. There's always a chance. And number two, it still has potential for high multiples. And so, like, this is why I'm so excited about this place. That's why, I believe in doing this show with some great people and having on great guests, because I always think about, can my audience do well with what I'm talking about? If not, I don't want to talk about it. And that's why ecomi, like, I feel so comfortable talking about it, because like, I don't have a magic crystal ball. I can't see in the future. I don't know for sure that ecomi do well. I just really like the probabilities, and everyone who's here, like, the probabilities for us, I feel, are pretty strong.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, we got to wrap it up here. I've got a jet, but I'd love to give you each a minute to just kind of end, wrap things up and end with any additional thoughts you may have.
Yeah, I can go
first. Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the channel. Just super excited. Thank you, everybody who's listening. We've just witnessed a tremendous, really tremendous kind of thing with the ecomi logo being dropped, all the different rarities. It really is something that speaks to the character of the people that hold them, and it's my belief that that will grow. And if you are a supporter of OMI and the Veve brands, be part of the communities. They're different communities. It's not about the money. It's not about anything else. Let's have some fun along the way. And if we are that group that's having all this fun along the way, we'll attract people. If you have positive, fun people, others will want to be a part of what we do. And so my ask of you is come join and have fun.
I love that. What about you, Randy?
You say me or Rain?
I said, what about you, Randy? Sorry.
Oh, all right, copy. I'll try to be quick. Back in 2020, as people were getting those $1,200 checks from the government, base set first edition Pokemon cards went 6x, and trophy cards didn't move at all. So you knew where that was going. And the reason I bring this up is because my friend Perianne Boring is the founder and president of Chamber of Digital Commerce. It's on the front lines of the most crucial policy battles in Washington. Known her for a couple of years now, and I think she's probably one of the most important policy leaders in blockchain. 50,000 followers over on Twitter. And she had just posted 400 million people have invested in crypto today. Only 5 million are using the technology. You're going to have more people that are start using technology. They're telling their friends, more people invest. I think Binance just confirmed that they are going back into India right now. Does India have money like America? No, they're a third world country, but that's still 1 billion people. And even do all of them have smartphones? No, but do 800 million of them? Yes. And slowly but surely, you're going to have a lot of people go into the crypto space. Is all of that going to go into Veve and ecomi? No, but some of it will. Smart money will get in first. Smart term money is already here. The price is what you pay for the crypto, and the value is what you get. I won't go into a crazy story about that, but just the price of the ecomi token has stayed pretty similar to what it has the past year. It had some ups and downs, but it's about the same what it was a year ago. Did the value of the ecosystem get worse, or did it get better in that time? I think it got a lot better, but you could still get the price of last year. This never happens. The value got better, but the price stayed the same. People who are selling their bags down here or not buying down here when they have the opportunity, that's stupid. But that's just my opinion.
The same thing happened with ecomi last bear market, in that they released this app and you could see that they had some Batman black and white stuff, and the price of an OMI's token didn't move during that period till 3 or 4 months later. And so, I'm glad that the team is focusing on providing better fundamentals for the underlying thing, rather than focusing on pumpamentals. There are a lot of places in crypto that focus on pumpamentals, and sometimes you get some short-term gains for that. What I would rather see is them continue to get top IP, continuing to grow their app, continuing to make deals so that they can get into other countries, because that will grow the fundamentals, which will later bring massive value to the ecosystem. So the token doesn't just do a 10x because they pumped it up artificially, so that it does a 50 or 100 or 200x. And so, yeah, selfishly, that's what I want. And selfishly, too, because I really like this community and the people behind it and the people involved in it. It's a lot of fun. I meet so many amazing people through this community, which is cool, too. I get to do what I love, which is investing, and meet cool people, too. I mean, what better life could there be?
Yeah. I love it. Well, I really appreciate, and we really appreciate everyone who stayed for this entire chat. It was epic. We're so grateful, Sanjay, thank you so much for taking your time to come on our the second episode, our first guest of this new podcast. Really appreciate your insights and thoughts and comments. I'm so grateful to the co-hosts, Rain and Randy. I'm looking forward to the different guests we're going to have and continuing this conversation. It's awesome. And again, appreciate all of you guys. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and hit the all notification buttons on all of our different channels and follow us in the descriptions. I've got our Twitters handles that you can also follow there. So appreciate y'all, and we'll see you next week.
Love you guys. Bye.
See you Friday, Randy.